Well, hi there, and happy Monday to you. I hope that you've had a wonderful day and welcome. Welcome. So, listen, I always like to start with a question, a thought provoking question. So, let me ask you, have you ever apologized for taking out time for self care? Or how about this one? Do you push self-care to the last thing? Like okay, I got to do this, I got to help this one, got to help that one, and then you really don't have time for self-care? Now let me ask you this one. How about this? Now, I know you haven't verbalized it to anyone, but have you internally felt guilty for even thinking about putting self-care first or even practicing self-care? Any of that rings true with you? All right. Well, listen up. Today, we're going to talk about, I see you. Yes, yes, yes. And we're going to talk about it today. How can we practice self care guilt free? So, welcome to the break room. This is our self care safe space so that you can escape from the day to day and come in here in the break room and get refreshed and renewed and return back to the things that you have at hand to do, whatever task that is for you to do. And I am Deetra Dennis. I am the self-care coach for nurses, and I empower my multi-passionate nurse sisters to prioritize self-care so that they can show up as the best version of themselves and impact the well-being of those connected to them. So again, I welcome you and so appreciative for you to be here on tonight. And a little housekeeping before we get into how to practice self-care guilt-free. Just want to share we are streaming live on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. So welcome one and all. Just as a reminder, those of you that are viewing on YouTube, if you will go ahead and subscribe, become a part of the family, and like for everyone, like the video, and share it with those who you feel could find value or benefit from the things that we talk about over here. And lastly, you know what? I love to see you commenting, be it live or if you're watching the replay. I do respond, and I thank you, Paula, for responding. And yes, we are going to talk about how to practice self-care guilt-free. So, what I want to share with you, we're going to jump right in. Why we're going to talk about why we feel guilty and how we can overcome that so we can truly prioritize self-care without the guilt, without the shame, and without apologizing, for practicing self-care. So, the first one, I think each of us, and I'll just say, I know for me, initially, what I thought a self-care was, it was something that was indulgent, took a lot of time, maybe even took a lot of money, or that it was optional. And listen, type in the chat, yes, if you thought the same, because I did. I thought, all of those things that I mentioned, that is what I thought self-care meant. It really took a lot of time. Anyone, agree with me on that? So, what I did talk about this as well, I'll share as we go along. There were many videos. Yes, yes, yes. I see you. I see you. That, yes, I talked about in another live stream dispelling the 3 self care myths. And we really went in depth about 3 of many self care myths. So, if you're on YouTube, I will put that in the show notes, the links to all the videos that I'll mention during our time together today. So let's switch and redefine self-care, if you will. So self-care is defined as activities or practices that we engage in on a regular basis to reduce stress, maintain, and enhance our physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. Now, for what I just defined right there, now, does that sound like it's indulgent or that is optional? I think, listen, it sounds like self-care is necessary. What about you? And if it's just small things, what about this? If you take 10 minutes or maybe max 15 minutes to walk just to clear your thoughts, or taking 5 minutes of meditation, or writing in a gratitude journal, I'm trying to think of other things that I've done, or taking 3 deep breaths. That really does help settle the stress hormones, kind of help settle your nerves, if you will, taking the 3 deep breaths. Any other practices that you have done, to help with your self-care? I would love to see that in the chat as well. So we talked about number 1, how we have defined self-care, but we have now redefined it. Okay. So we talked about why we're guilty and how we can overcome that, how we can change that. The second one is dualistic thinking. Now, I know this may sound new, but it's really old. It actually goes back to the ancient Greeks. And what it was about comparison, differentiation, or splitting apart. Or in essence, it's either this or that. And you all know, if you've been here anytime, you know I love music. So what came to mind to me was the song by the is the Black Sheep or Black Shepherd? I think it's Black Shepherd. And the song was "The Choice Is Yours." But we know the hook by "You can get with this or you can get with that. You can get with this or you can get with that. You can get with this or you can get with that or you can get with this." Because this is where it's at. I love music. But anyway, that is dualistic thinking, that you can either practice self-care or you can help or serve others. How about we shift our thinking or shift the mindset in that it can be both and? How about that? We can practice self-care and we can serve others. And when we take time for self-care, proper self-care, it enables us to serve others better, right? Because we're showing up as the best version of ourselves. And you're able to do that, be it in your career, your community, or with those with whom you're connected, your family, friends, and your faith, your church family. So that was 2. And now I do have a video on that one as well, where we talked about self-care essentials as a multi-passionate nurse. And so that is another way, switching from dualistic thinking to non-dualistic thinking, that we can do both. We can do self-care, practice self-care, and we can serve others. So that was 2. Now, number 3, I know, you might need to take a deep breath, but here it is. Number 3, you feel obligated to say yes to everyone except yourself. Okay, I know, but I too have been there. And many times, those of us that have a nurturing personality, this is where it comes from. Or it could be you've seen it modeled by your mother or any of the elder women in your life, that they just gave and give to others unconditionally, just giving till they just have nothing else left to give. And so that has been modeled before us. Or even, being the superwoman or women that we are, we feel like it's up to us to help everybody else. Well, how about this? Okay, I feel you tensing up, but listen, how about it's time to say no? I know I felt you clutch your pearls, but go ahead and relax and take a deep breath. It is okay to say no. And you know what? No isn't really about saying no. It's about setting boundaries so that you can honor and uphold your well-being. Because if you're not any good, what good can you be to others? Right? And so remember, and I've talked about this quote before, that when you are saying yes to others, be sure you're not saying no to yourself. So when you say no to someone, you're also saying yes to yourself. So that, again, I've said this in the beginning, so that you can show up as the best version of yourself and serve others from your heart at the highest level. Now, doesn't that feel good to know that if you take the time for self-care, you can show up as the best version of you? How does that make you feel? With all the things that I talked about, anything resonate with you about, kind of changing from the guilt and really practicing self-care guilt-free, following those 3 areas, just making a mindset shift or thinking of it differently, rather than defining it the old way, self-care in the old way, redefine it as something that is necessary. It's not optional. It doesn't have to take all day. It doesn't have to cost a thing. Doesn't cost a thing to go outside and walk. Doesn't cost a thing to pause for meditation. Or from the dualistic thinking that it's either this or that. How about non-dualistic, that is both and? You can do them both and still serve others as well as care for yourself. And then lastly, feeling obligated that you have to, be there and take care of others except yourself, but switching that and learning to say no. And you can say no with love and grace. But setting those boundaries basically is what it is, so that it protects your well-being. So any comments or anything that stand out for you on tonight that I talked about that you will, do over the next week? We'll just say until we meet again on next Monday. Anything that resonate with you that you will start doing, or things that you may already do that you're open to share in the comments. Well, I'm going to just remind you again to subscribe, to like the video, and share it with someone else who you feel could benefit from the things that we talked about. And, I really do appreciate you taking time out of your day in the evening to spend time with me. And again, here in the break room, I try not to hold you long because it is the break room. So usually at work, you don't have all evening to be with in the break room. You have 10 or 15 minutes for your break. And I do like to keep our time together short, but impactful or powerful. And, I always like to end with a good quote. So our quote tonight, listen, lean in for this one. Self-care is the greatest gift you can give others, because you give them the best of you instead of what's left of you. So until next Monday, I hope that you have a great evening and a wonderful week. Thank you again for tuning in.